Hi, everybody. This is Tommy Lasorda. Listen to The Sandlot, the best thing that could happen to you.
The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Are you crying?
It's a part of our past, Ray.
There's no crying.
It reminds us of all that once was good.
There's no crying in baseball.
Just a bit outside.
Baseball will be very, very good to me.
It's a simple game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball.
Personally, I think we got hosed on that.
The Sandlot Radio Network is on the air. And now, starting pitcher for the Sandlot, former pro player and Major League scout, Ted Howard.
This is National League All-Star Justin Upton.
Hi, this is Shane Victorino.
Hi, this is Albert Pujols.
Hi, this is David Wright.
It's Derek Jeter of the New York Yankees, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Welcome to The Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. The Sandlot is presented by the Kinetic Arm, protecting young athletes one arm at a time. The Sandlot is also sponsored by Slide MVP, Tool Shed, Champ Trove, Max Graphics LA, South Bay Credit Union, Fairway Underwriters, Insight Performance Group, and Pro Slide. The Sandlot can be heard live right here on Fox Sports 1590 KVTA, also streamed live on kvta.com. Replays of all Sandlot radio shows are published on the major podcast platforms such as SiriusXM MLB Radio, Spotify, SoundCloud, Simplecast, Apple Music, Pandora, and YouTube. Also, check out Sandlot Radio Show on Instagram and Sandlot Radio Network on Facebook for video content with the Major League players. Please explore SandlotRadioNetwork.com for historical reels and images, along with links to our outstanding partners. Last week on the Sandlot, we had back-to-back world champions for the Dodgers. Both were heroic and big parts of why the Dodgers won their second World Series in a row. We had the beloved Miguel Rojas, and left-handed pitcher, he's a game saver, Alex Vesey, and they're telling their childhood Sandlot stories. We also caught up with Angels 5-tool player, all-star Joe Adell, and the son of Dodger great Eric Karros. Now he's the third baseman for the Colorado Rockies. He played at UCLA, Kyle Karros. This week's Sandlot features a play-by-play man that has been doing Rockies TV for 25 years, Drew Goodman. We also have his son, Zach Goodman, who is now the play-by-play man for the Rockies on KOA Radio. He's the youngest play-by-play man in all of baseball. I've known our first guest for a really long time. I've played in a few baseball games with him. Take a good look, because you won't see it for long. We have Drew Goodman. You know him as the Rockies play-by-play man, and he's been doing it now for 25 years. He's Drew Goodman. Drew, I want to thank you so much for being a guest on The Sandlot.
Oh, you bet. You know, you and I go way back, Tad. So glad to be on. Thanks for having me.
Way back is right, because in the early 90s, when the Rockies first became a franchise, you had jobs in sports in Denver, and a lot of different ones. You're not just a baseball guy. You've done every kind of sport ever imaginable, so you're a true broadcaster. But you've got Sandlot stories just like anybody else, because you're a baseball kid. You ended up playing college baseball. So just like all of us, we had this dream at some point, either I'm going to play in the big leagues or I'm going to be involved doing something. So I want to know about Sandlot days.
Well, I grew up about an hour north of Midtown Manhattan in Westchester County, and I played everything. Back then, and you can appreciate this because we're of similar age. I'll start it with this. I never played a baseball game in the fall until I went to college. In the fall, I played football. I played 11 years of football through high school, and had some smaller college opportunities in football, and I kind of put my eggs in the baseball basket. But in the spring and summer, kind of, that's when you played baseball, and you played hoops in the winter, or lifted and got ready for the other sports. But in the fall, it was football season. So I have fond memories of growing up. I'm still very close with some of my teammates, particularly in football from high school. We did play. We played our fair share of pickup, baseball and half field stuff and that sort of thing, things that I think are of a bygone era now.
Yeah, you don't see kids playing on fields anymore like we did. And there was so many different venues in my neighborhood, and all of them had different rules and ground rules and equipment. And like I told you off air, those are the things that developed the 5 tools that scouts look at when they're evaluating players. It wasn't the 20 games I got to play of Little League per year. It was all the other stuff.
Yeah, no, there's no question. I mean, I remember playing, wiffle ball, especially in one of my buddies' side yards. And, we had a little field there, and you played. I was a huge New York Mets fan, Tad, but I always liked playing being the Reds because they were the big red machine around the time that I was, kind of, what would it be, like 12 years old, 11, 10, 12, 13 years old. And so I always would be the Reds because I wanted to be Joe Morgan with the flap of the elbow, and Cesar Geronimo and Johnny Bench. And I mean, they had great players on that team, and it would allow me to switch hit. I wasn't a switch hitter in baseball, but it would allow me to switch hit kind of in the backyard playing wiffle ball, and that was a blast.
And you think about those, imitating those players is what, we got those visuals. And back then we didn't get great ones because if we did get to go a game, like I told you, we didn't have I couldn't see anything. And the visuals we got one time a week on TV or whatever, they were limited and it wasn't very good TV. I had black and white till I was a sophomore in high school, so I wasn't seeing any high def anything.
Right. There was no such thing as high def television back then. But, I remember, from the broadcast side of things, I was always enamored with broadcasting in general. And I think the first program that really captivated me actually was ABC's Wide World of Sports. And, people who are of the younger generations now, they have no idea what I'm talking about, right? But it would be Frank Gifford and Bob Beatty on the side of a mountain in Zermatt, and they're covering ski racing, or in Austria, or cliff diving in Mexico City, or Acapulco, or way. I guess you wouldn't cliff dive in Mexico City, but I was like, wow, that's cool. Travel around the world and be able to call events. And I did a bunch of calling, just kind of reading sports into a tape recorder. And I used to score the Knick games growing up. And obviously I was a huge fan of the New York Mets, as I mentioned. So that's kind of where my initial love affair with sports broadcasting started.
So who were the Mets? Because you're talking about an era when the Mets were new and lively, and they had a couple runs there that were unbelievable. And so who were the Mets that you looked up to and tried to emulate? Because you mentioned the Reds, but there had to be some Mets.
Yeah, I mean, I was a huge Mets fan, and truth be told, even today, my allegiance is with the Rockies, clearly. But if the Rockies, and we're going through a rough period, but if the Rockies are not involved in the postseason and the Mets are, I like to see the Mets do well. But growing up, my first real, I don't want to say understanding, but memories of watching the Mets was racing home from school in 1969 as a first grader. And watching with my dad the World Series and the Miracle Mets. So Tom Seaver is still, kind of my all-time guy. I loved a guy by the name of Ron Swoboda, who got into sportscasting after. You remember that name, Tad? He made that great catch in the '69 World Series, I think, to Rob Brooks Robinson, kind of laid out in right field to his right. And, those, Tommy Agee and Cleon Jones, and there obviously Nolan Ryan was a young fireballer at that point in time. But, and moving on to 73 when Willie Mays comes back, and Willie Mays, my dad's a, Bronx kid. And even though he grew up in the Bronx, and right next to Yankee Stadium, he hated the Yankees, walked across the river to the Polo Grounds. He was a huge New York Giant fan. And Willie Mays, to the day my dad passed, he would swear the greatest player of all time was Willie Mays. And I have memories of seeing him. And we were fortunate. We got tickets to the Willie Mays day when he announced his retirement and spoke to the crowd. And, I'll never forget that. So yeah, those are some of my childhood memories of the Mets. And, again, Tom Seaver probably was always at the top of the list. He was the franchise.
Now, you played football, but you also played baseball through high school and then went into college and played baseball. And so you still got the dream, and you're taking it as far as you can, just like all of us that had that dream did. But in the back of your mind, you're doing this broadcasting thing, knowing that this might be the ticket. And let's face it, 25 years in, you got to admit it's a pretty good ticket.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really fortunate. At the time, my baseball career, I got hurt my freshman year, actually messing around playing football, which was taboo. So I think I got a little sideways with our head coach then, and I was on the varsity as a freshman in the fall, and then I did play in the spring, but it kind of it didn't go the way I wanted, and if I have one regret in life, it's that I didn't transfer. And I was in the school communications at Ithaca, which was really, really well thought of and still is. And so I kind of said, all right, I'll just kind of put all my eggs in that basket. But that's still to this day, I know that sounds silly but I wish I had seen it through a little bit more. But everybody has kind of a sad athletic story at some point. But I kind of made that transition. And after focusing so much on baseball initially there, thinking maybe I had a shot, I shifted gears.
Well, and Drew, now that you have, and it's been such a great career and you've seen so much, we talked off air about it, but I got to tell the story that you were kind enough, one series when I was with the Cubs, I'd always throw BP and my kids would be down on the field and they could see they could handle them. And Cade, my son, got an opportunity to be a bat boy for the Cubs in that series. He was only 9 years old. Cody was 6. You saw Cody was shaken up and you were kind enough to come over and say, well, hey, champ, I know you don't get to be the bat boy like your brother, but maybe you can throw out the Cracker Jack during the 7th inning stretch. So for those 3 games, Drew, you and George Frazier brought my kid in there and let him throw out the Cracker Jack during the first 7th inning stretch. So that was a huge treat for me. And the other thing, your boys trained in my facility, the Sandlot in Highlands Ranch, when they were coming up. And it was more Jacob than Zach, because Zach was a little younger. But I know that Jacob's got some hours in that joint. And I could tell that they had a lot of love for the game, too.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, the greatest thrill of my life, and I've been really privileged and fortunate to do what I continue to do, and I want to do it for a lot longer. And I've been, again, very, very fortunate to do it for 25 years at the major league level with the Rockies. But the greatest, and you get this, your dad, Tad, and your boys were good players, and I have 3 boys, and they're the most important thing to me, and some of the greatest and most joyous moments of watching them grow up was working with them. We had a barn, and I converted the lower floor of the barn to a hitting cage. And I mean, we spent hours and hours and hours in there, and time at your facility and many other facilities. And I remember they were 18 months old. Respectively, and I flipped them all, so they all hit from the left. They threw righty, but they all hit from the left side. They ended up all having nice careers. My youngest, Gabe, decided to shut it down after high school, but he coached and has coached for a good amount of time with not only high school programs but also with Prime USA Prime, and the other 2 played in college. So it's this is a game that is a family game and makes really strong bonds, not only kid to kid and sometimes parent to parent, but for us, and I know the same thing for you, Tad, for me as a father, working with my kids is, when they get ready to throw dirt on that's what I'm going to be lamenting, those times.
That's the most valuable times that we spend. And I tell people one of the coolest things I ever heard say was Hall of Famer Bob Feller said, my dad didn't give me a lot of items or stuff, but he gave me time. And that made me just feel the certain way that if I can do that for my kids, I think I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. It's all about creating memories and and having quality time, doing what I have done. And they got a lot of fringe benefits. I mean, just I'm sure like your kids as well, but traveled and going to all these ballparks but there was also time away where I missed games, and I was able to fortunately take games off and travel around the country and be with them and coach them and everything. But at the end of the day, it's about having quality time, and I feel I was able to do that while continue to pursue making a living for my family, and fortunate to be able to do it in something that I absolutely have great passion for.
Well, Drew, 25 years, you came up with the signature. I've heard it a million times because I spent a lot of time there at Coors Field and watching Rockies games. And if you've heard this, you know who Drew is. Take a good look because you won't see it for long. When and how did you come up with it? Because, a lot of broadcasters have a signature, but that was a very unique one, and I might have heard it the very first time. So I'm curious.
Yeah, Tad, periodically people ask me that very question, right? And I honestly don't know the origin of it. I will tell you that when I talk to aspiring broadcasters, I always tell them, be yourself. Don't try to, be someone else. Don't steal things. I don't know where it emanated from or how it happened. I really don't. I kind of utilize it when it's truly a no doubter. I mean, if it's a wall scraper, it kind of sounds, I'm not sure it's going out, but in Cargo Blast One in the third deck, it kind of, rolled off my tongue at some point in time. And I wish I knew, honestly, because, folks like yourself will ask me, and I'm like, and I wish I could say, yep, it was this date or whatever, and I thought this will be cool. But I never really, I remember when I first got the job, somebody in the media asked me, hey, what's your home run call going to be? And I said, honestly, I don't have right now, there's no stock. Oh, when a guy hits one out, I'm going to say, see you later, or there goes, adios, base, pelota.
Thank you, Drew. Stick around for more with Rockies play-by-play man Drew Goodman when we return. We're on Fox Sports Radio 1590 KVTA. I'm your host, Tad Powers. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. The Sandlot is presented by the Kinetic Arm, trusted to protect young athletes one arm at a time. For more information, go to the SandlotRadioNetwork.com website and click on our title partner, Kinetic Arm, and start protecting your kid today.
Zach Neto here from the Los Angeles Angels, former Campbell alum, and I listen to the Sandlot.
This is Joe Adele, Los Angeles Angels right fielder, and I listen to the Sandlot Radio Network.
Imagine this. Your kid throws out their arm. One bad pitch and suddenly it's surgery, months of pain, and watching from the sidelines. There's an epidemic of arm injuries in youth athletes, but it doesn't have to be that way. The Kinetic Arm is the first dynamic arm stabilizer, supporting the shoulder and elbow when they need it most. Trusted by thousands of athletes. Go to SandlotRadioNetwork.com, click Partners, Kinetic Arm, and protect your kid's arm today.
Champ Trove, where every championship becomes a treasure worth keeping. As a leading one-stop provider of custom championship rings, awards, and team packages, Champ Trove helps sports teams, clubs, and schools turn victories into lasting, high-quality memorabilia. We craft fully bespoke rings and team packages tailored to your vision, finished in just 15 days and shipped free. No rigid templates, no hidden fees, just a dedicated designer guiding you from concept to creation. Just go to champtrove.com. For every champion, forever. Champ Trove.
That sound, it happens every season. The base runner hesitates, a bad slide, a twisted ankle. The truth is, most kids are never actually taught how to slide safely. Slide MVP changes that. It's the portable sliding mat designed to teach proper feet-first technique so players build confidence before game day. No guesswork, no fear, just confidence when it counts. Train at home, train at practice, train the right way. Visit the SandlotRadioNetwork.com partners page for SlideMVP.com. Slide MVP, because one bad slide shouldn't change everything. I don't say this lightly. I've been around the game a long time. There's an epidemic of arm injuries in youth athletes. Until now, nothing truly supported how the arm worked while throwing. Meet the Kinetic Arm, the first dynamic stabilizer supporting both shoulder and elbow in motion. Trusted by over 100,000 athletes. Want to protect your player? Click on SandlotRadioNetwork.com partners and order your Kinetic Arm today.
Hi, everybody. This is Rick Mundy, former Major League player, former All-Star, and now broadcaster with the Los Angeles Dodgers. You're tuned in exactly where you need to be. It's Sandlot, and it's baseball.
Talking baseball, the man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber, and the Duke. They knew them all from Boston to Dubuque.
Especially Shohei, Mookie, and the Judge.
Welcome back to the Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. We're on Fox Sports 1590 KVTA. Also streamed live on KVTA.com. The Sandlot is presented by our trusted protector of young athletes, the Kinetic Arm. Right now we have more from sports broadcaster, Rockies play-by-play man, Drew Goodman. the good fortune of seeing some players that when you see them on a daily basis, you realize what they are. And that includes guys like Troy Tulowitzki. And at one point for me, he was as good as any shortstop had ever been. And then we had Nolan Arenado over at third base. Let's face it, that might be the best defensive guy we've ever seen at that position. Todd Helton at first base, maybe the best hitter of a generation. Larry Walker, a five-tool guy that we talked about. There's not many of them, but he truly was. And then even guys like Dante Bichette that had freakish power. And then, man, for me, one of the best hitters in the National League for a number of years, especially from a right-handed point of view, was Matt Holliday. And we got to see them on a daily basis. And I was really amazed at what they could do when you saw them that much.
Yeah, the Rockies have been around now for 33 years, 34 seasons. It began in 1993, and they've had not only some outstanding players, but historically great players, 2 Hall of Famers now in the aforementioned Walker and Helton. And I know it's been a lean period of time, to say the least, for the Rockies over certainly the last 7 years, and unfortunately, notably the last 3 with the 100+ loss seasons. But there have been some not good, but great players playing Colorado. And, you mentioned them. I remember, the first time my dad saw Todd Helton play in person, he was still living in New York. He eventually, the final 25% of his life lived in Colorado. But when he saw him in New York, I told him about it. He didn't know a lot about him. He heard a little bit. It was still fairly early in Todd's career. I said, this guy's one of the best hitters in baseball. And I think that night he went out and, had 2 doubles and a homer. And after, my dad was like, wow, this guy is pretty special. Larry Walker was phenomenal. But there have been a lot of other guys. I'll tell you a guy that would have been a Hall of Famer, Tad, who played for a minute with the Rockies. Had he not had a multitude of knee injuries, Ellis Burks would have been a Hall of Famer. He had Hall of Fame talent. He's a wonderful guy. I run into him, every year or two, and it's always great to catch up. But there have been some tremendous, not just, hey, that was a good Rocky, but they were among the best players in the game. When you talk, and Tulowitzki, unfortunately, Tulo got hurt because he had Hall of Fame talent also. Matt Holliday had an extraordinary career, and now his kids are playing, and his son Ethan is in the Rocky system, and there have been some big-time guys. I was just talking to Nolan a week ago because the Rockies played Arizona twice over a short period of time. And, it's neat for me, Tad, also to see guys as they mature, not just as wonderful players in the best league in the world, but also as they mature as go from a young man to, a family guy to now he's got a little bit of gray, in the stubble, if you will, and how they've changed. And I've seen that with Nolan. I think he is still super driven. I'm thrilled for him that he's having a really good year, a bounce back year after a couple of subpar years. But you see the whole growth of some of these guys, especially when you're watching them every day. But you're right, I'm getting long-winded here, but there have been a lot of great Rockies through the years.
And you've been right there to witness it all. But one thing I would just want to point out for people that want to potentially be a broadcaster, you've taken it beyond just being the everyday Rockies play-by-play guy. I've seen you on NFL. I've seen you on NBA, college football, wide world of sports. You mentioned that. And yeah, I had to say this, but that thrill of victory and the agony of defeat as a kid, I looked forward to that like you wouldn't believe. And the wipeout that they do with the skier, those were things that we grew up hoping to be some part of, and you got to do that. That's an American dream come true, Drew.
Well, I appreciate you stating for me, it has been a dream come true, and for a long time. And you started this out, I just wanted to play, and I like a lot. I was a really good high school player and had illusions, or as it turned out, delusions of grandeur. And I would tell everybody, play as long as you can. And I was fortunate that I had another pursuit that I really ended up, falling in love with. And that is, being in sports, but, the art of broadcasting. And I've always loved, doing a variety of sports. I mean, baseball's in my blood. I think it's the best sport to broadcast, Tad, because you have opportunities to tell stories. And I think any, good play-by-play person, aspires to be a storyteller and give me something. I'm out here in your neck of the woods. The Rockies are playing the Angels the next 3, and an opportunity maybe to pass along some stories on a Mike Trout, a Joe Adele that they are not aware of. And there's time to do it in baseball because they're standing at the plate maybe for a minute and a half, and it's a longer count. Where I've been very fortunate to do the NBA for a decade, and football, in the college and NFL ranks. But it's harder to get those stories in those sports. You can do it. You just have to be a little more clipped in how you present them. But I've enjoyed all of them. I really have. I don't think there's a better sport to do than football from an event standpoint, because baseball is a series of 162 games, the NBA 82, the NHL 82, and it's night after night. And in football, at the collegiate level, it's 12 events, man. You get 12 opportunities. In the NFL, you get 17 opportunities.
He's not only a baseball player, but he's a fan of the game and now a broadcaster of the game. He's Drew Goodman. And the coolest part of this story, not only has the dream come true for you, but now young Zach Goodman has followed in your footstep, and he is actually a broadcaster right now for the Rockies as well in radio. So we're going to have young Zach as well. We're going to get to tell his Sandlot story, because he had the fortune of growing up being close enough to Major League Baseball that many kids don't have the fortune up. And it gives you a level of comfort that a lot of kids never have. And we have been fortunate enough to give that to our kids. And I feel like it's a cool thing.
Yeah, I can't tell you, words will not do it justice how proud I am of all my boys, and I'm certainly proud of Zach's my middle son, and he had the broadcasting gene, if you will. My oldest did some in college also, and my youngest has done some performing also. But Zach, played 6 years of college baseball, and I think he has a great perspective on the game. Not only from that, but he was a catcher, and catchers, as you well know, Tad, because you played and you scouted and you've worked in pro ball, that a lot of the managers in Major League Baseball are catchers, because 8 guys are watching that one guy, and he has to see everything, and he has to be in tune with the pitcher and so forth. But I'm really thrilled that he did 2 years in the Texas League, and I tell people I had nothing to do with this. The folks on the radio side really liked him, and he was a finalist for an opening with the Rockies, and fortunately he got it. So this is his rookie year in the big leagues, working with Jack Corrigan, who's been around for a long, long time, first in Cleveland and the last 24 years in Denver. And he's doing really well, Zach is, and to be able to travel with him and grab a bite to eat with him and have a beer with him and see him at the ballpark doing his thing. I stay out of his way and stuff, but it's almost surreal. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it, that we're both working in Major League Baseball for the same organization and for the organization that he followed so closely growing up.
It's a true extension of the dream, Drew, and I'm so happy that that's happening. And my kids did the same. They played through college and dabbled in the independent and went over to Australia and played, and they got a taste of it. And it's a lifestyle that any family member would want to share. And like you said, it does hold generations of the American family together.
It's such a great sport, and I think every player. I was talking to. I don't say this to name drop. It's what we do, and I was talking to Luis Ariz 2 days ago, because the Giants were in town, and on Saturday I visited with him a little bit, and he's one of the nicest, sweetest guys in the game, and I asked him, like, Tad, you've done countless times with other players. I said, who was your guy growing up? And I always thought he was going to give me a player I really liked watching, the late Tony Gwynn, because, Luis Ariz is one of the great hitters of a generation. And he said, his dad. He goes, my dad was a pitcher, when I was growing up. He said, but he taught me the game, and he was my hero, and he's the guy that, taught me to hit and swing the bat, with the intent of going the other way. And so I think families, moms and dads, there's this unique bond in baseball because you can participate for a long time. I mean, you can't put the pads on when you're our age and go put your Rydell in your son, go helmet to helmet with your kid if it's football. I mean, you can play hoops with them, but there's something about baseball and hitting ground balls and throwing BP. And, I did it and still do it. And I love that. And conversations that take place. And, sometimes there's frustrating times because baseball's that sport, right? But there is a uniqueness to the bond that baseball provides. For however long, kids are able to play or desire to play, but it's such a common thread in our family, and I'm thrilled for that, and I'm thrilled that it continues on now.
Well, from Field of Dreams, we got the moment where the ghosts, and we've got Kevin Costner saying, "Hey, Dad, you want to have a catch?" And every dad dreams of having a catch. And I still do it with my kids, and I'm sure you do too. And man, there's no more joy than that.
Absolutely. And I will tell you this, Tad, doing again what I do, and have done for now a nice long period of time, I can point to a park, a strip of grass in virtually every city in Major League Baseball and say, we had a catch there. I remember, rolling ground balls there. I mean, honestly, sometimes it's just around the corner from wherever the team hotel was. And we went over there. And to this day, I have my oldest son is in Manhattan. We'll run over to Central Park. We did that with the whole group of them when they were younger. But we'll go over to Central Park and have a catch. I had a catch, last fall in Central Park with Jacob, my oldest. And I mean, those are the absolute, best memories. And I still want to do it, man. I'll be 96 years old, man. I'll be hoping and having a catch with a couple generations of Goodmans.
Well, I grew up with Jack Brickhouse and Lou Boudreau and then Harry Carey and then Vin, having the fortune of hearing Vin for right up until he passed. But I got the chance to hear Drew call a lot of games. And I got to tell you, you're as good as anybody. You got a great voice for it, understanding of the game that's different. And I've been very fortunate to be close, and I cherish those moments. So thank you, Drew, for being a guest on The Sandlot.
Thanks for having me, Tad. I really appreciate it.
Thanks again to Drew Goodman, followed by his son, Zach, now the play-by-play guy for KOA Rockies Radio. I'm your host, Tad Powers. We're on Fox Sports 1590 KVTA. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. The Sandlot is presented by the Kinetic Arm. Why wait to start protecting your player's arm? Go to SandlotRadioNetwork.com to the partners page and order your Kinetic Arm today.
Hi, I'm Justin Robleski, and I listen to The Sandlot.
This is Alex Vessia, two-time champion, left-hand pitcher, bullpen, and I listen to The Sandlot.
Imagine this. Your kid throws out their arm. One bad pitch and suddenly it's surgery, months of pain, and watching from the sidelines. There's an epidemic of arm injuries in youth athletes, but it doesn't have to be that way. The Kinetic Arm is the first dynamic arm stabilizer, supporting the shoulder and elbow when they need it most. Trusted by thousands of athletes. Go to SandlotRadioNetwork.com, click Partners, Kinetic Arm, and protect your kid's arm today.
Running a business is hard enough. Growing one is even harder. That's where Insight Performance Group comes in. They help businesses streamline operations, improve marketing, strengthen sales systems, and create processes that drive growth. Instead of spending all of your time putting out fires, Insight helps you build a more efficient, scalable business. If you're ready to work smarter, grow faster, and get more out of your business, schedule a free consultation by going to SandlotRadioNetwork.com website partners page. Click on the logo for Insight Performance Group to begin growing your business today. That sound. It happens every season. The base runner hesitates, a bad slide, a twisted ankle. The truth is, most kids are never actually taught how to slide safely. Slide MVP changes that. It's the portable sliding mat designed to teach proper feet-first technique so players build confidence before game day. No guesswork, no fear, just confidence when it counts. Train at home, train at practice. train the right way. Visit the SandlotRadioNetwork.com partners page for SlideMVP.com. Slide MVP, because one bad slide shouldn't change everything.
Champ Trove, where every championship becomes a treasure worth keeping. As a leading one-stop provider of custom championship rings, awards, and team packages, Champ Trove helps sports teams, clubs, and schools turn victories into lasting, high-quality memorabilia. We craft fully bespoke rings and team packages tailored to your vision, finished in just 15 days and shipped free. No rigid templates, no hidden fees, just a dedicated designer guiding you from concept to creation. Just go to champtrove.com. For every champion, forever. Champ Trove.
You know, I don't say this lightly. I've been around the game a long time. There's an epidemic of arm injuries in youth athletes. Until now, nothing truly supported how the arm worked while throwing. Meet the Kinetic Arm, the first dynamic stabilizer supporting both shoulder and elbow in motion. Trusted by over 100,000 athletes. Want to protect your player? Click on SandlotRadioNetwork.com partners and order your Kinetic Arm today.
Hey everybody, this is Trevor Hoffman, a Hall of Famer and a San Diego Padre, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Welcome back to The Sandlot. It's where everybody plays, right here on Fox Sports 1590 KVTA. Also streamed live on kvta.com. The Sandlot is presented by the Kinetic Arm. Right now we have a little bit more from Rockies play-by-play man Drew Goodman, followed by his son, play-by-play man for the Rockies on radio, Zach Goodman. So we got Drew and Zach.
Zach, thanks so much for being a guest on The Sandlot.
Well, thanks for having me. You had me a guest at your facility when I was younger, so it's only right I do it on your radio show now.
And it's appropriate that it was a Sandlot because you were a Sandlot kid. You spent time there. Your brother spent time there. And it was a place where you go get work done and work on the skills of being better at baseball. And that was something that you had a dream of doing. Your dad, because of being a play-by-play guy for the Rockies for so long, you've been exposed to some great baseball from a very, very young age, which gives you some advantages in terms of comfort. Because, as I told you off air, I wasn't very comfortable when I got into these situations because I didn't have any exposure to it. So let's talk about the Sandlot days, because big eyes, you get to see some great stuff. You got a good place to train. Who were some of the players you looked up to? And, of course, you were a Rockies fan, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I totally was. Looking up as a kid, I always loved Todd Helton. That was the first guy that you definitely loved. Vinny Castilla, but that was when I was really young, remembering that. I loved Seth Smith on the Rockies. He was Mr. Late Night. He was his batting average and statistics from the seventh inning on were always really good. He was kind of a pinch hitter, wouldn't play every day, and he ended up carving out a pretty nice career. But he was my guy with the Rockies, and then eventually it turned into the guys that everybody loved, and Carlos Gonzalez, Troy Tulowitzki, Nolan Arenado. While I was catching in college, my guy was Tony Walters because I loved what he did behind the plate, and I tried to base some of my game off of him.
You mentioned that at the Sandlot, you even got some instruction from one of our catching instructors who was the Rockies catching guy, Mark Strittmatter. So you were learning skills from big leaguers at a very young age.
Yeah, he was awesome. Mark helped me out a ton. I remember working with him at the Sandlot. I remember actually working with him. He had a batting cage in his garage at his house. And we went there a couple of times, and he gave me some catching lessons. But yeah, he greatly improved how I was defensively, and defensively was the reason I was able to play baseball at a fairly high level, because offensively I was okay, but defense was definitely where I picked up the slack, and definitely learned a lot from Mark.
By the time you got to high school, you're becoming a really good player and you're starting to think about college. What was it like playing high school baseball in Colorado? Because my two boys went to Heritage, and so I got to watch them all 4 years at Heritage High School. And baseball in Colorado is not like it is in a lot of other states in this country.
Well, it's a lot better than what people think it is. And it's continuously getting better and better. And I remember in high school, going to Arapahoe High School, we played in the Centennial League in Colorado. And the two leagues, the Centennial League and the Continental League, every single game you're facing somebody throwing 90 miles an hour. It's no joke, where I don't think that's the case in a lot of different states. Obviously, when you're in California and Texas, you probably see it a lot, states like that, Florida. But I don't think people realize how many good players come out of Colorado. And it's a consistent basis where you're facing really good arms. I remember in high school, and the velocity was there. And that was pretty interesting because I ended up playing with guys in college at a Division III Webster University, and we had a lot of success at that level. But there's guys who turned into good players that it took a little bit to adjust the velocity, just for wherever they were from. They didn't see a lot of velocity, but that was always something I was comfortable with because of the baseball in Colorado.
So you go to a D3, and it's about continuing to play the game. And you went to college at a very strange time through COVID. So there was good and bad to that because we lost some stuff, but we gained too because you got to play 6 years. I played 4 years of college baseball, some of the greatest times of my life. The times where I felt like I had camaraderie with teammates was in college. You get to pro ball, it's a different story. So for 6 years, you got to experience that, man. That's beautiful.
No, I loved it. I loved every minute of it, and I really miss it. I still think about it, how much I watch them. I watch those guys still play. A lot of my teammates are still on the team, and so I'm always keeping up with them. And whenever I'm watching them play in the conference tournament or whatever, I'm like, man, I wish I was out there. I want to be taking it at bat. But the main thing I miss, because you don't get this in life, and you don't really realize it until you're out of it, how lucky you are. It's just that every single day you go to practice and there's 45 of your good friends that you're just kicking it with. You're playing baseball and you're having a good time. And then, it's batting practice. And as a catcher, I'm standing on the warning track doing nothing, just talking to people. And I love that. The bus rides, you don't get any of that back. And you're constantly around friends, and the camaraderie of that team, the group chat's always going off. I do really miss that, the camaraderie of it, of playing a college sport and a team sport.
Did you always know that after you played that you were going to get into broadcasting? Because as a kid, I was the guy that when we were playing our little Sandlot games, I'd say it was runner on first and second, 2 outs. The team at the bat is now up by 3 runs. So I would kind of call the game as we were playing it. And I had guys like Jack Brickhouse, Lou Boudreau, and Harry Carey that I listened to all the time that kind of shaped my style. And so I'm wondering, in addition to your dad, was there some voice out there, because I got to hear Vin Scully a lot out here too, that kind of gave you that and made you want to do it?
Well, I feel like I take a lot of style, one from my dad, because I've listened to him do it more than anybody else. But I also, the guy, ironically, who I've listened to probably the same most of my life is Jack Corrigan, who I get to work with now, just because he was on the radio for the Rockies. So I was always hearing him as well. So I think subconsciously you pick things up from the people that you're listening to. Joe Buck, Matt Vasgersian, those are guys that I listen to call a lot of games as well. But I think I've taken from a lot of different guys. But I also, as a kid, I did know that this is what I wanted to get into. I remember broadcasting the video games I was playing, being the broadcaster for that. And it's funny, neither of my brothers, my older brother, my little brother, never really had these aspirations. But I knew from when I was pretty young, this is what I wanted to do if I couldn't make it to the league in baseball, which obviously did not happen. So in high school, I was broadcasting games. I went to Webster specifically for baseball, and that they had a sports communications program. And it worked out well there because there wasn't really much other competition to get on air, whereas a lot of those big broadcaster schools, you got to wait your turn. At Webster, I got to go on immediately and call basically every volleyball and basketball game for 6 years because of COVID. So that was really beneficial, and I always knew that this is the route I wanted to go down for sure.
Thanks again to longtime play-by-play man for the Colorado Rockies, Drew Goodman, and his son, Zach. We have more from Zach when we return. We're on Fox Sports 1590 KVTA, the Ventura Sports Talk station. I'm your host, Todd Powers. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. The Sandlot is presented by the Kinetic Arm. Go to sandlotradionetwork.com, partners page, click on Kinetic Arm, and start protecting your player's future today.
Hey, it's former Major League Baseball player Matt Holliday, and I'm actually known as Jackson Holliday's dad these days. My son was the #1 overall pick, and I got another one on the way. And we still listen to Sandlot Radio. Proud to be part of the Sandlot Radio family.
Imagine this. Your kid throws out their arm. One bad pitch and suddenly it's surgery, months of pain, and watching from the sidelines. There's an epidemic of arm injuries in youth athletes, but it doesn't have to be that way. The Kinetic Arm is the first dynamic arm stabilizer, supporting the shoulder and elbow when they need it most. Trusted by thousands of athletes. Go to sandlotradionetwork.com, click Partners, Kinetic Arm, and protect your kid's arm today.
Looking to stand out? At Max Graphics LA, they bring your ideas to life. From custom screen printing and high-quality embroidery to eye-catching signs and banners, they do it all. Outfit your team, promote your business, or create one-of-a-kind personal gear. Whether it's company uniforms, sports league fan swag, or custom designs for any occasion, we've got you covered. Fast, reliable, and made just the way you want it. Call 310-350-3394 or visit maxgraphicsla.com today. Max Graphics LA, where your brand gets noticed.
Whether you're in the batter's box or grinding through a 12-hour shift, your gear matters from the inside out. Introducing Toolshed Premier Compression Underwear. Toolshed is designed for the athlete and worker who demand comfort and durability. Moisture-wicking technology, aero-cooling mesh, and a fit that stays put. No chafing, no riding up, just pure performance. Upgrade your base layer today at toolshedusa.com. Use code SandlotRadio10 for 10% off. Toolshed, made in America.
You know, I don't say this lightly. I've been around the game a long time. There's an epidemic of arm injuries in youth athletes. Until now, nothing truly supported how the arm worked while throwing. Meet the Kinetic Arm, the first dynamic stabilizer supporting both shoulder and elbow in motion. Trusted by over 100,000 athletes. Want to protect your player? Click on SandlotRadioNetwork.com, partners, and order your Kinetic Arm today.
I was pretty much decided for me to play baseball when I was born.
The Sandlot's where it all starts, doesn't it?
I wasn't bigger than everybody. I just threw harder.
It doesn't take any talent to hustle.
If you don't pull for the Dodgers, there's a good chance you may not get into heaven.
Something happening here.
Welcome back to the Sandlot right here on Fox Sports 1590 KVTA. I'm your host, Tad Powers. The Sandlot is presented by the most trusted protector of arms in the industry, the Kinetic Arm. Right now we have more from the youngest play-by-play man in all of baseball. Keep in mind there might be a total of 30 to 60 of these guys that do play-by-play for MLB. Zach Goodman.
And practice makes perfect. You really have to call a lot of games. I did a couple in Australia, and as a color guy, and color's way easier than play-by-play because you can just kind of react and follow the lead of the play-by-play guy. But the play-by-play guy has to be so organized, has to have so much research done pre-game and just create a flow and also know when to not speak. And that's what Vin was so good about. There's times he would just let us hear the sounds of the ballpark, and especially on radio, that I think is really important. We talked about the rarity of being a Major League Baseball player, number one. There's 25 guys on 30 teams. That's 750. You got 40-man rosters that kind of expand that. But, man, that's not a lot of people. But then you look at Major League teams, and they got a play-by-play guy for TV and radio, and maybe they have Spanish radio. So maybe there's a total of 90 play-by-play guys in all of baseball. You're the youngest. And I'd look at Vin, got started at a young age. This is a thing you can do till you're 75 years old. You can have a 50-year career in this broadcasting business. You started right out of college in the Texas League, so you got your feet wet in the minor leagues. But, man, to be your age and to get one of those 90 jobs, man, that's a rare thing, and congratulations.
Well, I appreciate it, and I'm certainly well aware of how fortunate I am, and I don't take it for granted at all. And you just mentioned the preparation of a play-by-play guy. I certainly take it to heart. I realize how lucky I am, and I'm certainly not going to be not prepared for a game because I really do not take this opportunity for granted. My dad always says the line, and I don't know who he heard it from. I know he heard it from a different broadcaster, but if you use more than 10% of your prep in a game, you probably didn't prepare enough. So I've always taken that to heart, and the easy part's actually doing the game. The hard part is getting all the prep done for it. But in terms of breaking in as young as I am, I certainly realize how special that is. I don't take it for granted. I realize the way I got here, just the timing of the way that the job opened up and my relationship with Dave Tepper, who's the program director at KOA, and he really liked me, and they went through a tryout process, and there was 3 of us who did some spring training games. They eventually decided to go with me, and I'm very fortunate. I'm very aware of how fortunate I am to be in this position, and there's so many great broadcasters out there, and just trying to learn every day. And that's something that I've really enjoyed about this job is, one, learning from Jack, because he's been really helpful in everything I've been doing, but then also meeting so many different broadcasters at this level. It's cool to be a part of the club, and there's a lot of really good people that want to help me out.
And it's a very small club. And like you said, there's some great people. If you look around the league, some of these guys have been in their jobs for a really long time. And because of it, they're polished, and they present the game in a way that makes you comfortable because they're not nervous. They've been doing it so long that they have created a style that we all can follow. And I got to admit, it's not easy. I've tried the play-by-play thing, and I got to tell you, I wasn't very good at it because I wasn't as prepared as I needed to be. Things come up in a game that you needed to already have done some research to make an educated comment about.
Oh, yeah, you have to be prepared for really anything. And honestly, the games that the 4-3 baseball game where there's good pitching and teams are playing well and it's interesting throughout, those are easy games to call because you're able to describe the action and talk about the action all the way throughout almost, and you can really stay on topic. The games that get difficult are when it's 12-1 and you're in the 6th inning and you're trying to fill time and make it interesting. That's when it gets difficult, and that's when your preparation really is important and making sure you have all that prior prep. But like you mentioned, if a guy hits a home run, you got to be on top of how many home runs is that? How many RBIs has he had this year? Same with a double, a stolen base. And that's just easy stuff to prepare for, but you definitely have to have it.
From the Sandlot of Highlands Ranch to Arapahoe High School to Webster University to the Amarillo Sod Poodles? Man,
yes.
And your college team had a very interesting name, too.
We were the Gorlocks.
Yeah, where's the Gorlocks come from?
I loved being a Gorlock because I thought it was unique. 1 and 2, as we all said, it's the apex predator. You haven't heard of it, but it's an apex animal. So that you don't want to see a Gorlock out in the wild. You won't live to tell the story. No, a Gorlock is when the school Webster University decided to add sports to their school. Downtown Webster Groves, it meets on Gore and Lockwood Street. And so when they're having a competition, somebody came up with that. So Gorlock. And then it's the paws of a cheetah. So you say they're super fast. The horns of a water buffalo. Those things are pretty big and strong. So it's fast as a cheetah, strong as a buffalo. And then has the face of a St. Bernard. So it's cute as well, and it can fool you. So they have every way of being the apex predator.
Somebody had a thing about mascots and some of the coolest and weirdest names, and this would be up there if they did another version, because I think this is relatively new. The Dirt Bags of Long Beach, right? But I played for the Lincoln Rail Splitters in Lincoln, Illinois in high school. That's a pretty unique name because Abraham Lincoln was a rail splitter. So we were the Rail Splitters.
I like that. I love any unique nickname, and in the minor leagues, you certainly get a lot of them, but I don't think any compare to some high schools that you'll kind of find around the country. There's some unique ones out there. Why would you want to be something typical? Why would you want to be an eagle or a hawk? I don't know. I'm not throwing shade at those two names. More just they're typical names. I thought it was cool to be something different.
He's Zach Goodman. He's the son of Drew Goodman. He's only one of 90 Major League Baseball broadcasters, and that might even be a high number because I don't know if everybody has Spanish radio, but man, it's so cool that you've followed in your dad's footsteps. You're doing what you love. You're doing it at a young enough age that you can do it forever. So I want to congratulate you and thank you, Zach, for being a guest on the Sandlot Radio Network.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me as a guest at your facility, and you're speaking about doing it for a long time. I hope that's a reality. I'm just trying to continuously put out a good broadcast every night, and hopefully that translates into a long career.
They say it's hard to get to the big leagues. It's even harder to stay there. But at your age, you're there and you're locked in. And I think it's a little harder to maintain the big league job as a player than it is to maintain your broadcasting position. So I think you're in a pretty good spot, buddy.
Well, I hope so. But I'm gonna continue to try to earn it for sure.
Thanks for listening to the 7th Sandlot Radio Network program of the 2026 baseball season. We will continue to bring you unique childhood stories from the biggest names in baseball, including current, former, and future Major League players, coaches, scouts, front office personnel, and even media as they reflect on their road to the big leagues. Remember, you can catch replays of this year's and past season's episodes on the Sandlot Radio Show SoundCloud page. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook for video content with the MLB players. We also have links to our YouTube, Spotify, and SiriusXM MLB network. Please explore the SandlotRadioNetwork.com website to check out reels and images from our long history of covering everything from the Sandlot to the big leagues. If you're interested in advertising your business on the Sandlot Radio Show, give us a call at 303-350-0655 or send us a message through the website, SandlotRadioNetwork.com. I want to thank all of our guests on today's Sandlot. We had the father and son play-by-play duo of Drew and Zach Goodman. Drew, 25 years doing Rockies TV play-by-play, and Zach, the youngest play-by-play guy in baseball, doing Rockies Radio on KOA. Thanks to the Goodmans. Be sure to tune in every Saturday at 8 a.m. on Fox Sports 1590 KVTA. Also streamed live on kvta.com. Next week on the Sandlot, we have Rockies All-Star. He's hitting over 300, which is tough to do in the major leagues. We have Kyle Johnston. Plus, we have first base coach for the Angels. He's won a World Series with the Nationals. He was a great major league player, Adam Eaton. Plus, we have a very versatile utility man that's been in the league for over 10 years on a bunch of teams. We got Adam Frazier from the Angels and a couple of surprise guests on top of that. The Sandlot has been presented by the most trusted leader for athletic arm protection, the Kinetic Arm. To purchase yours and start protecting your athlete today, go to SandlotRadioNetwork.com, click on the Kinetic Arm on our partners page. The Sandlot is also sponsored by Slide MVP, Champ Trove, Tool Shed, South Bay Credit Union, Fairway Underwriters, Max Graphics LA, Insight Performance Group, and Pro Slide. The Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. I'm your host, Tad Powers.
Damn it! Who typed a question mark on the teleprompter? For the last time, anything you put on that prompter, Burgundy will read.
This is National League All-Star Justin Upton.
Hi, this is Shane Victorino.
Hi, this is Albert Pujols.
Hi, this is David Wright.
It's Derek Jeter, New York Yankees, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Is this heaven?
It's Iowa. Is there a heaven?
Oh, yeah. It's the place dreams come true.
Hey, Dad? You want to have a catch?
I'd like that.
Imagine this. Your kid throws out their arm. One bad pitch and suddenly it's surgery, months of pain, and watching from the sidelines. There's an epidemic of arm injuries in youth athletes, but it doesn't have to be that way. The Kinetic Arm is the first dynamic arm stabilizer, supporting the shoulder and elbow when they need it most. Trusted by thousands of athletes. Go to SandlotRadioNetwork.com, click Partners, Kinetic Arm, and protect your kid's arm today.
The difference between safe and out is inches. And the difference between hesitation and going all out, confidence. But confidence disappears fast when you're worried about cuts and scrapes. Introducing Pro Slide. Padded compression sleeves for legs and arms, protecting knees, shins, and elbows so you can play all out. Stay in the game with Pro Slide. Get yours today by visiting the SandlotRadioNetwork.com website. Visit Partners, then Pro Slide. Pro Slide Sports. Play hard, stay protected.
With so many banking options out there, why choose South Bay Credit Union? As a nonprofit credit union, they're here to serve you, not shareholders. That means they're able to provide better rates, fewer fees, and more valuable benefits to empower their members to live better and do better. You want to master your money? South Bay Credit Union puts you in control of your money with everyday banking solutions. From checking accounts to home mortgages, credit cards to auto loans, their members have access to the tools they need to achieve their financial goals now and in the future.
When you run a sports facility, tournament, camp, or recreation business, you need more than insurance. You need coverage built for the game. For over 35 years, Fairway Underwriters has specialized in protecting sports and recreation organizations nationwide, from baseball and softball facilities to camps, leagues, tournaments, golf courses, fitness centers, and special events. Because when the unexpected happens, experience matters. Fairway Underwriters, the name trusted for quality and innovation since 1989. Call 1-800-662-2141 or visit fairwayunderwriters.com today. Fairway Underwriters, protection built for sports.
You know, I don't say this lightly. I've been around the game a long time. There's an epidemic of arm injuries in youth athletes. Until now, nothing truly supported how the arm worked while throwing. Meet the Kinetic Arm, the first dynamic stabilizer supporting both shoulder and elbow in motion. Trusted by over 100,000 athletes. Want to protect your player? Click on SandlotRadioNetwork.com partners and order your Kinetic Arm today.